Michael Jackson's mother, Catherine, could file as early as Monday to become co-guardian of Michael's 3 children. Earlier this week, she lost sole custody of them in the midst of a family feud. And while all may have seemed okay when the Jackson brothers took the stage last night, behind the scenes, the drama continues to build. Although the Jackson family spent the past week tearing itself apart via Twitter, Michael Jackson's brothers showed no signs of discord Friday night performing in San Jose. It was a deceptively normal end to a bizarre week that began with reports that the Jackson matriarch, Catherine, had gone missing and was perhaps kidnapped. She's the legal guardian of Michael Jackson's 3 children, and 14-year-old Paris sounded alarms on Twitter, saying, "Yes, my grandmother is missing. I haven't spoken with her in a week. I want her home now."
The family members at Catherine's house get this phone call from Catherine, and she doesn't sound like herself. Her words are slurred, she sounds a little incoherent, and she now has everybody terrified that something bad has happened to her.
Paris's uncle Jermaine tweeted back, "I want to reassure everyone that mother is fine but is resting up in Arizona on the orders of a doctor, not us." But just days before Catherine left Los Angeles for Arizona, Jermaine and 3 of his siblings signed a letter demanding the resignation of the 2 men named as executors of his late brother Michael's estate, accusing them of fraudulent behavior and lying to Catherine.
The Jackson family is bitterly split down the middle in a dispute over the will.
On Wednesday, a judge stripped Catherine of her custody of the 3 children. But by the end of the week, she was back in Los Angeles, agreeing to share custody with another family member. But the feud over the fate of the executors continues. On Friday, Randy Jackson tweeted, "It is my fear and belief that they are trying to take my mother's life." And joining us now are Tom Mesereau, Michael Jackson's defense attorney and family friend, and Brooke Anderson, co-anchor of The Insider. They're both up early this morning in Los Angeles. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And Tom, let's start with the end of what Randy Jackson was saying there on his blog post. He went on to say this: "The same people that are trying to manipulate my mother are the same people that were involved with my brother when he died." Serious, serious allegations right there. Who is he talking about?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. I suspect he's talking about the people who run the Jackson estate. There's tremendous tension between family members and those that run the Jackson estate. From the family point of view, they're seeing lawyers and third parties make millions and millions of dollars off Michael's estate. They don't think this is fair. They're suspicious about the will. The will says it was executed in Los Angeles when everyone has proven that Michael was in New York. And there are other issues. So there's continuing tension over not only the size of this estate, but how it's managed, how it's divvied out. And I don't think that tension is going to dissipate anytime soon.
And that's quite a backdrop for a performance last night. Brooke, what about that? They have all this going on behind the scenes, and then they put on a show. How'd that work out?
Right. I mean, it seemed that their family was imploding right before our very eyes, and the whole dispute was being played out on Twitter, bizarrely. But yeah, they put aside their differences for the sake of work. The show must go on. Jermaine did fly with his brothers Tito, Marlon, and Jackie, and they have been on opposite sides. They are not aligned in terms of how they feel about Catherine, the estate, the children. And Jermaine actually from the stage last night told members of the audience, "You all have families. Sometimes it gets complicated. Whatever happens, whatever is said, we are family. We are one. We will heal." So there is a sense of optimism there, Maurice, but they've got to hold it together for a couple more shows this weekend to wrap up their summer unity tour. And they have a show tonight in Oregon and one tomorrow night in Washington.
Tom, for as much talk as there is here about family and a custody battle, the way you describe this makes it sound like the battle is really over one thing, and that is money.
Well, any large family is going to have conflicts from time to time. When you throw in fame and fortune at this level, when you have a family that's been under a media fishbowl for many, many generations, you're going to have even more problems. And these things will flare up from time to time. I don't know how bad the differences really were between certain siblings of Michael and his children, but clearly they escalated partly because of media attention, and hopefully they'll straighten out. But to think that everything's going to be smooth every second of the day is just not realistic. And by the way, these estate issues are not unusual for large estates. You often see heirs, non-heirs, third parties, all in the mix, all going to court, all suspicious about who drafted the will, why it was signed, when it was signed, who got the provisions included in the will. This is not unusual. It's just that the Jacksons are so popular, and public attention always seems to be directed at them.
Okay, we'll leave it right there. Mesereau and Brooke Anderson, thank you very much this morning on the Jacksons from Los Angeles.